Hello, everyone, and welcome to D&D Beyond's Builds Character. Today, I am joined by Laura and Urban, our fantastic community manager, and we are going to be talking about homebrew stuff. And behold, there is a Luke McKay cartoon.
There is. So we are going to be talking specifically about homebrew magic items, which we've gotten a lot of questions for. And it was a little inspired by this most recent comic from Luke McKay, who's the best person on the planet. And I'm not just saying that because I'm married to him, but he drew this comic. And we had questions asking about building this weapon, which I love, I think is the best weapon ever of all time. So I've built it, and we're going to use it to help explain how you can create your own homebrew magic items in D&D Beyond.
This is an example of what we call in the tech industry feature creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, I remember when he was first sketching this and we were looking at it, it's like, well, can you add this? Can you put two axes, and then like the skull accents, I think that was the last thing to happen there, but is it ridiculous? Yes. Is it practical? No. Is it the perfect thing to homebrew and to show you how to use the D&D Beyond homebrew features? Absolutely.
And if you're using this weapon, don't forget, get the feet so you can use that pummel, that very simple pummel to get that 1d4 on your bonus action.
There you go.
So,
I mean, there's a lot already going on with this weapon because I decided to have fun with it. So we're going to build it for Kaiser, and I actually already have it here.
Oh, it looks lovely.
Yeah, so we're going to do the thing, instead of building it from scratch, I'm going to kind of work backwards. I'm going to do the thing in where when you watch a cooking show and they're like, we're going to show you how to make this amazing pie, and look, here it is, and they just pull one out of the oven. This is my version of that. So the triple flailed spiked hammer, saw bladed, double throwing great axe, quad dagger, poison tip, staff of destruction with demon skull accents. This is available right now on D&D Beyond. I have made it public because why not? You can just do a search for this. Good luck searching for it. If you look for the user builds character, you can go ahead and find it there, and you can add this right now to your homebrew, and your DM will give you some strange looks. But we're going to go ahead and...
I love it.
Yeah. And we got Luke's lovely little art over here. So I'm going to start, because we've published this, I'm going to start by showing you what happens when you publish something on D&D Beyond and then want to edit it. Okay. Because this is a very natural thing. You put something out there into the ether and people play it or try it out and have comments, and you want to update it. But we are cautious on D&D Beyond because we don't want you going in and editing a thing that you've already put out there, because it might be on someone's character sheet. And if you edit it while it's on someone's character sheet, it kind of breaks things. Or, there's suddenly, best case scenario, there's an update to something on their character sheet that they don't know about. Imagine if you had something on your character sheet that you're used to using, and then one day you went into your character to play and it was just different. So in order to update homebrew that you've created, you'll see I don't have an edit button here. What I've got is create new version. And it's going to say, hey, are you sure? Yes. And so what this is going to do, and it's going to look like nothing happened. Hey, wait, I'm still here. But we're going to come back over here to my homebrew creations, and you'll see that there is now 2 triple flailed spiked hammer blah, blah, blahs. One of them is published. The other one is private. And excellent. If we go back into the one that's published, or actually that hasn't happened yet, sorry. So I'm going to say this right now. I actually have some help with this homebrew, not just this specific homebrew, but homebrew in general. Melly, who is one of the best people at D&D Beyond ever of all time, is a homebrew master and is helping me and has helped answer so many of my questions. And as I've said in other homebrew shows that we've done, there's a lot of things that can go on with homebrew. So if you have any questions, the best thing to do is to come to our forums, come to our Discord. I or Melly or one of the awesome people on the community team will help you through, or just somebody in the community, because there's a lot going on. Anyway, back to the triple filled spiked blah, blah, blah. We're going to come here. And now we can edit, because this version of it is not public. Go on it.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. Because
Yeah.
once it's published, it's kind of locked in.
Yeah, and as I said, that's to protect users who have used your homebrew. I've actually gone through this myself. I have a subclass on here that's public. That's the Phoenix domain, and I've done an update to it. And so if you go to the Phoenix domain, you might actually see the one that's out there is the updated version, but you can actually scroll down, and I'll show this to you when we're done. You can see the different versions of stuff.
I kind of want us to hire Matt Mercer to voice this. So we have a little bun on it, just to hear him say,
like with the monsters and things.
Yeah.
Beholder. I don't know. We could get Marisha. We could ask.
Triple flailed spike hammer saw blade double throwing great axe quad dagger poison tipped staff of destruction with demon skull accents.
Exactly. This should become a thing. If you would like to record yourself saying the name of this ridiculous weapon and sharing it with us, then I don't know what we'll do, but it'll be funny.
I implore you, DMs, use this weapon against your players. Tell us how it went next week.
It's a ridiculous weapon. It's not optimized at all, but it's going to be fun. So we'll start with the basic information. Obviously, name. It's, of course, legendary. Here's one of we're going to talk specifically about homebrew weapons a lot, but this is all homebrew magic items because you can only edit and create magic items. You can't do base weapons. And so one of the important things when you're making a magic item is and you're making specifically a magic weapon is what is the base weapon that you want to use, because that's going to help determine a lot of the basic properties that you're then going to alter as you see fit. A lot of the time what I like using are some of the basic like +1 magic items because they're really simple and go from there. But in this case, because this was, I mean, I could have used any weapon, but
Right.
you said it was a triple flail was first. And how often do you get to play with a flail? So
Not
I went
often.
with a flail.
No.
Well, in this case, there you go. I've got all of the information in the description down here. So here's some fun things that I'll show you how to do in your weapons. You can see that this weapon deals an additional 2d6 bludgeoning, 1d8 slashing, and 30d4 piercing damage. Because why not? Once again, it's ridiculous. Anyone hit by this weapon is frightened for 1 round. Additionally, they must make a Constitution saving throw DC 14 or be poisoned for 1 minute because it's a poisonous weapon. Also, you can cast hideous laughter while you're using this weapon. You can cast it 3 times a day. While attuned to this magic weapon, you become proficient in flails because we're going to make your life easy. We're going to give you a flail and then automatically make you proficient in flails because we love you. You have advantage on intimidation checks because of the skull accents, and you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws because it's unwieldy. All of this is baked into the weapon already, and so it should show up on your character sheet.
I do appreciate that the design is very much mirroring the effect, because if you're not frightened when you get hit by something this much damage,
exactly, it's
you're playing your character wrong.
Well, and I thought the reason that you can cast hideous laughter is because I felt like when you see this weapon, either you are going to be legitimately frightened or it's so ridiculous you're going to laugh.
Yeah.
So some of this is based off of the design of the weapon, and also some of this is to make showing you how to do this stuff in D&D Beyond a little easier.
Yeah, I'm actually fascinated because proficiency is something that is a very big deal. Sometimes with magical weapons and armor.
Yep.
So being able to add that is huge.
Proficiency, advantage, disadvantage, alternate damage types. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do. So because this is a weapon that can cast a spell, and I talked about it, you can use this weapon 3 times a day to cast the spell. It has charges. It's got 3 charges that reset after a long rest. I've made the weight 40 pounds because why not? Because look at it.
40?
But yeah.
Just 40?
Just well,
that thing's like 120 pounds.
But it's more unwieldy, I think, than actually heavy. So the weight is super important if you do have a game that involves encumbrance. So
I'm calling out Gil right now to build this. So
Oh dear. Gil, there you go. We need you to make 12 different weapons and cobble them together. So because of all the different effects, there's a bunch of stuff down here that we're going to get into. Let's start with the spells, because that's a little bit of an odd thing for a weapon to be able to do. So we actually just have Hideous Laughter down here as one of the things that we can add. So let's go into edit and I'll show you. We've pulled up Hideous Laughter as the spell. You can put any spell you want in here that you have access to. You can talk about a minimum or maximum amount of spell charges, which basically means if you have a weapon in where you can say you can spend so many charges in order to cast this spell, this is where you do that. So there's a lot of weapons that have those kinds of charges. It's got a save DC because it's very possible that whoever is wielding this weapon doesn't normally have any kind of save DC. And then I just put the details in there. You can also tell it, enter the level at which the item spell is cast. So right now, when you cast Hideous Laughter with this weapon, it'll do it at its base level. But you can say, oh, cast it at 9th level. Why not?
Oh my God.
There you go. It'll now automatically cast at 9th level.
I'm concerned about your willpower. When it comes to homebrew.
Okay, listen.
Let's make it 9.
How many homebrew items have you seen me make?
It's fair.
50% of them are the ridiculous things like that. The other 50, I go pay an editor and get help.
Go big or go home, I guess.
Exactly. You might as well have some fun. So this weapon causes 2 different conditions to possibly happen. The poisoned is one that involves a save, and the frightened is just something that can happen. So under our conditions is where we can get into a lot of that. We have it be poisoned for 1 minute with a Constitution saving throw. But as you can see, any condition that you can think of, we can add. We can make you unconscious for a minute. That's, no one likes
that's
that.
A bummer.
Yeah. But we'll stick with poisoned. And the other one was the idea of being frightened for 1 round, which is just a thing that can happen. So this kind of stuff, when you put it into the weapon, will show up on your character sheet. But the big one we're going to go into is modifiers. You can see there's a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is where things get interesting when you want to create something really unique. Especially if you want to change the inherent properties of a weapon. We're going to start at the bottom here, and you're going to see I've got a couple things on here like ignore weapon property finesse, because I'm using a flail as the base weapon. A flail is a finesse weapon. And if you don't know, a finesse weapon is something that you can either use one-handed or two-handed.
I didn't know that. I did not know I mean, it makes perfect sense, but I did not know that was one of the finesse weapons.
Yep. And if you use it two-handed, it tends to be the kind of thing where if you use it two-handed, you get more damage. Well, looking at this weapon, this is not a finesse weapon. You can't wield this with one hand. So
that's fair.
The ignore weapon property is a really good thing to go into if you're using a base weapon for your base magic item for your item, but you don't want it to be finesse. We're gonna say, yeah, ignore that. You may also want to add properties. This is a two-handed weapon, so we added that. The weapon property is now two-handed. And you can see, we'll get into some of the other stuff here, but like this is where you get into the nitty-gritty of the magic item. What does it do? What does it allow you to do? What does it require? That kind of thing. We can have ability score modifiers in here. We can have all kinds of stuff. So I made it a two-handed weapon and heavy because of course, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anything is. What I love about all of this, just looking at it, is you've literally taken every piece of that weapon that he drew. Like you can even see the poison that's on the daggers. I adore this. This is I mean, as illogical as it is, it's surprisingly logical in its design.
Exactly. Is the base weapon, is this amazing weapon a balanced weapon? No. But is it functional? Well, I'm going to add it to Kaiser in a minute once I get through this. So here's some of the other properties. We talked about it gives you disadvantage on dexterity saving throws because it's huge.
Oh my
So here you go.
So good.
Disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. We could give you advantage. We can make you immune to stuff. We can set vulnerabilities. We can give you proficiencies. There's all sorts of stuff we can do with magic items. They're so much fun. I've
Probably
been kind.
disadvantage it's on stealth checks, I would say, because it's just kind of like clinking, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go. So
Maybe.
yeah.
So, I mean, we can totally add that. Let's go ahead and add a modifier. We're going to give you disadvantage on
Arcana.
stealth. I mean, you can see I went
Yeah.
looking for stealth, but before I go ahead, you can see all of the stuff.
Everything.
You can pick something very granular. So I'm going to look at basically stealth checks. But you can tell it anything that's charisma.
But you've already said dex, so that's was it dex saves or was it dexterity?
It was
checks?
Dexterity saving throws. So the
okay.
idea of like if you're going to dodge out of the way of something, you've got this giant weapon. So this would be something where we'd want to do two different things. You can say just dexterity ability checks, and then you know what? Why not? Let's do that because it'll be funny when it shows up in the character sheet and you'll see all the disadvantage. You can tell it an ability score. You can do all kinds of stuff here. So we'll go ahead and save that. What else we got here? Well, here's the opposite of that, advantage on intimidation. And then we've got the extra bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. Now, the thing to remember about adding different extra bonus damage, right now on the D&D Beyond character sheets, it won't show up as a box that you can roll our digital dice on. It will still show up, but you will have to roll it manually. So in a moment, where I'm going to show you rolling this 30d4. Yes.
How do you choose which one is the main damage that you will see? Can you control that?
You can, and it's determined by the type of weapon. So with this being a flail, it's going to use the standard weapon damage.
Okay.
But you can change that too. Let me actually switch over to a different weapon, something a little simpler, to show you exactly that question. It's funny you asked. So welcome to my fire battle axe of awesome. Here's a very simple weapon. You're going to see some red text here. The reason that D&D Beyond is yelling at me in red text is because I took the battle axe +1 and I basically changed one thing on it to show off. And it's going to want you to make more changes before you can publish any homebrew. But as we'll remind you, private homebrew is automatically shared with other users in your campaign and does not need to be shared with the community for players to access it. So if you've made like a tiny little change to one thing, which is what I've done with this battle axe, you don't have to publish it. You can just have it be something shared with your players. So what I've done is I've made this battle axe do fire damage. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. I took a +1 battle axe and I just I replaced the damage type with fire. And it still has the bonus to magic. So if we come on over here to, I gotta go to equipment. We're gonna go ahead and add the fire battle axe of awesome. And we'll go into actions. And you'll see, because it's a versatile weapon, it's actually giving the two different ways that you can attack, one-handed or two-handed. But you'll see it's now doing fire damage. So that's how you go in and change like some of the basic stuff. Is hey, I want this to do fire damage instead of this.
So I do have a question. When you're in your character sheet, can you click on the 1d10 and roll that?
Oh yeah,
you can.
Yep. If
is that potentially a workaround?
Not quite, because the reason this is showing up here is because it's a versatile weapon.
So you would have to start off with making, if you wanted a weapon that was showing two different damage types right now, you would have to start with a versatile weapon. And then alter the die in post, right? Well,
you can't actually alter the die. So what's happening here is this is pulling the type of die because it's a battle axe. And it's showing two different things here because it's a versatile weapon. And so it's automatically doing the math for you. Let us come back to the triple flail blah, 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 in where you'll see, because I've added all of this bonus stuff here, let's go ahead and add this to Kaiser and I'll show you what happens. So we're going to save our changes, which is going to take a moment. There we go. Now, I won't do this immediately because we've actually made changes to this. But if I wanted to save this, I could actually save this as the new version of this weapon that would be public. But let's hold off a moment. Let's come back to Kaiser. Let's give him... And you can see I actually have 2 different versions of this now because I'm sharing, this is my own homebrew. So I have both. It doesn't really matter which one we add. So we'll add this one. Let's make sure it is wielded and attuned to, so we get all the fun stuff. Here's all the information. So you can see, because I used a flail as the basis for this magic weapon, the base damage is 1d8 plus 3.
Right.
But it lists all of the other stuff here. It even has the charges for the spell that I can cast. Let's come back out here to actions. I'm going to show you my favorite thing about this. When you roll dice with a weapon that is, with anything that is this long.
Yes.
This makes me so happy. So let's attack with this item. I am
long.
I am so amused by this.
Oh my God.
So happy.
That is like a short story.
Right. So, I mean, I'm joking about this. Keep this in mind when you're creating a magic item or anything, a spell, is that it's gonna come up. And so there you go. All right. So what you'll see is I can roll the 1d8 plus 3 because it's a flail. But it's also going to remind me, hey, you also do 2d6 bludgeoning, 1d8 slashing, and 30d4 piercing. So it's going to tell you, and you can edit this in the character sheet in order to give yourself more notes. It tells you how many charges it has, and here you can see it's heavy and 2-handed. So all those things come into play. And you can see right over here, we now have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. This is the original version of the weapon, so it doesn't have the other stuff yet.
Yeah, but it's got the advantage on intimidation there.
Yep, there it is, advantage on intimidation. And as always, you can go on in and say, if you're looking at something and you go, how did I get advantage? Oh, it's the triple flank spell, blah, blah, blah. So it is all here.
I feel like you kind of have to roll the damage now.
Oh, okay.
I feel like so.
Here you go.
Well, I'm gonna Oh my God!
All right.
Now let's okay. So we got
2d6, 1d8, and then all right. Give me a second. I'll just be clicking for a little bit here. Whoops, one too many. Let's roll all of that.
Don't be abusive. Oh yeah.
So we've got, I mean, it's a bunch of caltrops on your character sheet. That's a lot. Yeah.
And there it is, 96 points of damage.
Right? If you can wield the weapon, you can do a lot of damage. We had a couple questions in chat. Let me catch up with those. Irrational DM question, shouldn't the charges be set to 1/1 for the spell? So yes, it would just be only that level of charge. And then if you do like a 1/3, that would allow it to upcast for extra charges. So in this case, because it's just you can use this weapon to cast the spell, because I kind of imagined this is a melee weapon that an actual like a barbarian or a fighter, someone who can't normally cast spells, would do. So I kept the spell casting simple. Of course, I've given this to Kaiser, my Aarakocra cleric rogue wizard, because why not? And because it automatically lets them be proficient in flails, so they can use it, which is why they get all their bonuses. But yes, if you changed the charges for this weapon, you can make it, if I upcast this with 3 charges, it does something else. So yeah. So that's this fun thing.
It's very impressive. I didn't think you could do it, but you did.
I am often asked as a professional oboist, hey, can you play this on the oboe? And my answer is, can I? Yes. Should I? Maybe not.
Some things, maybe no.
Yes. This weapon, can you make it? Yes. Should you use it? Probably not. Anyway, let's come back in here. We've got this upgraded version of the weapon. We allowed you to be able to do some other things on this weapon. It's going to also give you disadvantage on all dexterity checks, I think we said.
Yep.
So we're going to say share this with the community. And then what's going to happen, because this is a version of a weapon that we had put out, what you'll now see are their previous versions of this weapon.
Oh,
so yeah, anyone who goes and searches for this magic weapon will find the new version. But anyone who has the older version of it, they'll still have access to it, and it won't break their character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and you can see when it was modified and, you know, who's got it. And you can remove it from your collection, which when you have created a magic item or any kind of homebrew, doing that means it's no longer going to be shared with everybody else in your campaign. So if your friends are sick of seeing the triple flailed, spiked hammered, saw bladed, double throwing, great axe, quad dagger, poison, tipped staff of destruction with demon skull accents in their list, you can do that. And now if I come back over, I'm going to just refresh Kaiser for a second here.
I love everything to do with this entire episode. This is just amazing.
This is just, how fast can you say the name of this weapon?
I'm not even trying.
I know, right? We've only got 30 minutes left. So I have a lot to get through. So
hey,
we're gonna.
Kaiser's got a coin from Averin.
Oh yeah, I showed that to you last time, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Sorry,
Yeah.
they turn up in a lot of places.
Let's see. I forgot to do. I think it's. You know what? Let's just add them both. Whatever. We can have two. Why not? We'll dual wield.
Why not? We'll dual wield.
We will dual wield attune. Oh, it's not this one. It must be this one. Wielding attune. Ah, there we go. There's all the disadvantage. So remember we said, oh, you're going to have disadvantage on all of your, so every single one. And once again, you can click on it and see, oh yeah, I've got this ridiculous weapon. That's why.
Oh, right. You know what? You might, with that big, you might actually have advantage with acrobatics.
Use it as a pole vault?
Yeah. I mean, like that thing's, it is a multi-tool. I mean, you easily like climb buildings with that thing, Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of a building when you think about it.
It is kind of a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there it is. Let me go back into, let's go back into the battle axe, because I've already saved the big weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a little easier to get into. Let me double check my note. I have notes here. So let's go back into modifying properties, because this is kind of where, remember, we are actually dealing with magic items here. It is not just weapons, because a lot of people want to be able to homebrew a magic weapon. We kind of started there, but remember that you can use any magic item as a basis for this. So some of the things that you'll see here that are modifiers that you can add, like Eldritch Blast or Proficiency, like they seem odd when you're talking about a weapon, but if I, why not? Let's do this. We're going to create a magic item. And we're going to pull up my favorite magic item of all time. The alchemy jug.
Oh my God.
I love this thing. This is the best magic item ever of all time.
You and my wife both obsessed with the alchemy jug.
Listen, any magic item that lets you create mayonnaise in gigantic, ridiculous quantities.
So gross.
It's amazing. It's the best. So because this is a proper item, it has some other, we can do some other things to it that makes a little more sense. So let's go. See, I don't even think it's got anything, because it's just basically a giant list of stuff that you can make. The alchemy jug, when you go into it to edit it, to make your own homebrew version of it, is basically just all flavor text. And you'll find that with a lot of wondrous items that they tend to be flavor textful. They are things that the game just describes to you, because there's nothing on a character sheet that says +1 to mayonnaise. But, that's where we go. Sorry, a whole bunch of questions just came in.
Okay.
So we had Aegon TV want to know, is there a way to do scaling level effects on weapons or armor? So items that change over time or with the level can be created by making a new item using something else as a base. So then you add the effects based on whatever you want to do. So take a look at, if you own Wildmount, there's the Vestiges of Divergence, the legendary weapons and armor and items that level up with you. You basically have to make each version of that item. And I've actually done that. I have a character in my podcast game who's a ranger who I made a custom weapon for, that as he goes through the adventure, and this already happened once in game, it levels up with him when he does heroic deeds. And so I basically had to create the next version of the weapon, and then the next version of the weapon. So that's kind of the best way to do it, especially since that will keep it hidden from your player if you want that to be a surprise. Otherwise, it's all hidden in there. Let's see. Chocobo Remix, how would you enable a weapon to give you fire resist or any effect resisting like charm, paralysis? So actually, let's do that here. Let's go into the alchemy jug. You can do resistance.
Yeah. See, I mean, you see a fireball coming in, and you just pour yourself with mayonnaise, and you're harder to burn.
I mean, mayonnaise makes everything better. But let's say just holding the alchemy jug is going to give you resistance to something. Let's see. They were talking about fire resistance, which of course is right there. But we can talk about, if you see this a lot in a lot of creatures, they're resistant to anything that's non-magical. Here's a whole bunch of damage types, ranged attacks. So there's a bunch of stuff. You could just be resistant to everything. I mean, because why not? Cold damage. So that's how you would come on in here, and you can save this. And now if you equip the alchemy jug, you have resistance to cold damage.
The mayonnaise keeps you warm.
Mayonnaise does everything.
Because it doesn't stipulate what temperature. So like if you are out there in the Arctic and you just keep on pouring and it's room temperature, that could keep you warm.
I mean, it's worth a try.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens?
You end up mayonnaise
covered in mayonnaise.
Yeah.
This is why you also have prestidigitation and mending. At least as someone in your party, you can do both of those things.
It's a hard way to go in Icewind Dale.
Yeah, maybe be careful in Icewind Dale with that kind of thing. The irrational DM wants to know, why doesn't the triple flailed, spiked hammered, saw bladed, double thrown, great axe, quad dagger, poison tip, staff of destruction with demon skull accents have the image set? And I thought that it did. Let's go back.
The copy didn't.
The copy didn't.
Yeah.
I may have to fix
So I guess you have to re-upload it. Make a new version.
Yeah. So I just have to fix that. That was probably a weird error, but yeah, there is a place in Magic, in basically any homebrew that you do, and where you can, in additional information, you can change the avatar. So you can change.
That's nice. Yeah.
So you can, if you have homebrew art, obviously you don't want to just take art off the internet. You want, I happen to have in the other room a wonderful man named Luke McKay, who is an incredible artist who will draw things for me. So that's how I got the weapon that we were talking about here. But yeah, you can upload it's two different files, because it wants the large avatar and then the tiny, tiny little one that you use in your character sheet. Let me equip both of these. Yeah, so this little tiny guy down here, that's the smaller one. Let's see. Any reason? Let's see. Sorry, there was a lot of questions that came on in.
That's good. That's what we want. We want the questions.
Yeah. Did you have any questions, Todd? Did you want?
I am in shock.
How so?
I can't believe this got made and that this was possible. I think it's amazing. I love it.
So there's a lot going on with all of these, especially once you get into magic items. Magic items are a little easier to dig into than some other homebrew, but there's still a ton of things that you can do. So take the time when you're thinking about homebrewing something, read through, do what I just did. Find a base magic item that is close to what you want, or at least has some of the properties, and then create a version of it for yourself in Homebrew and look through it and see what it says.
How many base weapons do we have in D&D, in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons?
So there's a lot of base weapons, but remember that you can't homebrew a base weapon at the moment.
Yeah, that's yeah. So you have. I was just curious how broad of a selection we have when we go to base weapon.
Anything that is a magic item.
Yeah.
You can create it, and there's a magic +1 for just about everything.
Right.
And that includes also armor, So if you've got some homebrew piece of armor, here's clubs, here's daggers, greatswords, javelin, lancer. You name it, there's a +1 version of that. So that's usually what I tell people when they want to homebrew some magic weapons or armor is, unless you're looking for something that has a specific property that you can then go find in another magic item, just grab a +1 somewhere, because those will be the easiest to kind of dive into. Gerbardo. I might have said that wrong. Any reason why instruments of the bards are not available as templates for magic items? They should be. You should, as long as you own the Dungeon Master's Guide. So let's do the... I'm trying to remember some of the... the Olam Harp should be one of them. Here, I just saw it. I should have access to... I'm forgetting how to spell Olam Harp. There it is. So yeah, so I have access to the Dungeon Master's Guide, so we can come on in here, and if I have a magic instrument, I can take a copy of one of these legendary instruments and have some fun with it. These are fun to go into to learn about spells, about using spells in magic items, because that's kind of one of the main draws of having these instruments. And this is where the number of charges you get is important, and the reset condition. Right now, just remember that on D&D Beyond, it doesn't necessarily reset the number of charges automatically if you have like a short or long rest, and our character sheets don't know what dawn means. So you do have to manually do that with these, with any of the magic items. So for example, if we come back to Kaiser here, and we go into their spells. Oh, did I not? Oh, I didn't attune to it. That's why. I'm like, why isn't the spell there? There it is. Hideous Laughter.
Oh, fantastic.
So I can cast this at will. Sorry, Will. But I only get so many charges. Joke. I know. I can't help it. It comes out. It's like it's just automatic. So it's got these charges here. I do have to remember that this is something we're still working on. If I give Kaiser a long rest and I go back in here, I gotta go back into the other one.
So it's probably very easy for you to do, but can you make me a set of mithril full plate armor that I don't need to be proficient in to wear?
I believe so, because all we got to do is we remove the property that, either we remove the property that requires, whatever the mithril plate requires, or we do what I did with the triple flailed blah, 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 in where I give you the proficiency in the thing. So let's go to create a magic item. Chocobo Remix wants to know, what did Will ever do to you? Thank you. So let's go into...
Will is our producer. Roll initiative.
Here's adamantine half plate. We also had some other questions. Magula, can you allow for items to add spell slots to a character? Not yet. That's not currently possible. I know spell slots are a big thing that people ask for.
Yeah.
So all
Because they're
right.
greedy.
Well, there's a lot of homebrew that happens in games, and so that's actually a request that we get quite a bit. So that is something that the team knows is something that people want.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of the things that you can homebrew still fall within the bounds of it's not really what's rules is written or rules isn't the rules that are in the game,
Right.
but that's kind of the main drive of any of our homebrew is, can you create something that can actually could be used in a real book? And so we kind of follow those rules, but we are always taking suggestions from the community for things that they want. For example, people are always asking about being able to homebrew a base class instead of just a subclass. That is a very popular request. It is very complex and we want to do it, but it's not available right now. You wanted to know about.
Yeah, I wanted to see how I could become automatically proficient or not have to worry about proficiency.
Okay. There's a couple different ways you can do it. As I said, as we showed on the weapon, what I like doing is just making it so that you can be proficient. Proficiency, it just gives you proficiency in heavy armor.
And then it's done.
And then as soon as it's equipped. But let's see. I know there's other ways of doing that, but that's kind of the easiest way that
Right.
I have found. Beaster AP wants to know, is there a way to make a +1 unarmed strike? Yes. Hey, let's just do it in the armor. Why not? So we'll go to, so much of this is going to be under modifiers. So much of this.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a bonus unarmed attacks. There you go. You are in adamantine half plate as a monk, because why not?
I want to make an Eldritch blast cannon. How do we like just a machine gun? Yeah, let's let I'm putting you on the spot, but that's what I'm doing right now. Do you have anything else planned?
I'm also just looking at all of the questions that are
we
still
do have a
coming
lot
on
of questions here
and getting help from Melly. Thank you, Melly. She's behind the scenes helping me with some of this, because as I said, I am not an expert. I just know people who are. So they are helping me quite a bit. So the Eldritch cannon from the Artificer, is that an actual magic item, or is that?
No. I want to make a laser pistol that gives me some kind of advantage. A laser rifle gives me advantage on Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
Somehow.
It's going to create a magic item. There's all sorts of guns in here. Let's see.
But they're not considered magical, probably. Though.
They are not, but there might be a +1 version.
That would be very weird. A +1. It's already a laser rifle. That feels abusive.
Let's just go into. Here we go. Hellfire laser rifle.
Hellfire laser rifle. Why not?
You'd be surprised. You once you think like, oh, this can't be in D&D. This isn't an official thing.
Oh my god.
There you go. So let's see.
This weapon was fashioned by infernal iron. Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what did you want to do with this?
I want some kind of modifier with Eldritch Blast. I don't know. I feel like Eldritch Blast is just not powerful enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Eldritch Blast.
We can do bonus damage, or we can do bonus range.
Let's do bonus damage.
All right.
Okay.
What kind of dice would you like to give to this?
I feel like it deserves another 1d10 at least.
Done.
All right. So we got extra 1d10 bonus damage to your Eldritch Blasts.
Perfect.
Makes me very happy. I'm already happy with it. Are there any more weird conditions do you feel like Eldritch Blast deserves?
Well, let's take a look. I mean, you can make any condition that you want. We can make someone exhausted.
You're exhausted.
Or until dispelled.
Until dispelled.
Yeah.
So every time you get hit by one of these Eldritch Blasts, you're also exhausted. Remind me what the exhaustion condition does.
Oh, exhaustion is bad. Exhaustion is super bad. Here, let's just look it up. Because there's different levels of exhaustion.
Right.
Here we go. Player's Handbook. So at level 1, you have disadvantage on ability checks. At level 2, your speed is halved. At level 3, you have disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. At level 4,
so this is perfect.
Yeah, your hit point maximum is halved. At level 5, your speed is 0, and at 6, you die. Exhaustion is serious business.
Well, I mean, if you're hitting someone with 5 Eldritch Blasts, I mean, you're almost at pure death. If you hit every time. So that's great. It's a good weapon. Now I feel like Eldritch Blast is finally powerful.
Yes, because before nobody wanted to use Eldritch Blast.
No one likes Eldritch Blast.
Who wants Eldritch Blast?
It's like a paladin who smites or something.
So Luke McKay is in the audience right now, is in the chat. Luke, I want a bee launcher, a ranged weapon that fires a beehive at the target in melee range of a swarm of bees.
Not unlike one of our favorite kobolds, who also throws a wasp nest.
I mean, anytime mayo and bees. Now, if the bees could be covered in mayo, I think.
I mean, you're not getting them off you, so that's yeah.
There you go. You stuck to them. But yeah, the bees would have to be a flavor text thing. We don't have a damage type that is bees. That would be fun. I'll submit that to the devs. I would like, fire, cold, lightning, bees.
Yeah,
that's what I would like. So that would probably be something where you'd come in to homebrew it right in the character sheet. So if I wanted the triple flailed, spiked hammer, saw bladed, double throwing, great axe, quad dagger, poison tipped staff of destruction with demon skull accents, almost got through it. If I wanted this to have, I could just add that it also does bee damage. I would also probably just customize an attack.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, when you look at, because this does come up, and when you look at Spurt the Kobold, famously that lived for like 11 days.
11 days.
11 days. One of the best moments in D&D history, with my wonderful friend Chris Perkins. He just flat used the monster stats. And everyone fell in love with those weapons that inventor kobold has. One of those is the scorpion staff that does, I think it does like 1d8 poison damage or something. You've got
the scorpion on a stick. Yeah.
You got like a bag of bees. I'd be sorely tempted and perhaps beg my DM to allow me to take those weapons off kobold or make a kobold with those actual weapons.
And there you go.
For flavor.
There you go. I just added an attack. I have to make it show up as an attack. Whoops. See, this is everyone. Where is displays an attack? There we go. Bees. And now if we go. I may have to refresh this. While that is refreshing, it's so refreshing. From Cage Warrior UK, is it possible to create an item that gives you an option of additional damage, like a weapon that can do additional cold or fire damage, not both, to its base damage? So yes, the triple flailed blah 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 does that, in where we let it do bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing, but I can do that, set the bonus damage to be pretty much any damage type and size that I want. So let's go back into, I've been doing so much homebrewing. Here we go. We'll come back to the fire battle axe of awesome. That's exactly what I did here, was allowing it to be fire damage, but we can add a additional modifier. We can say do damage. Let's do cold damage. Let's do the 5d12.
Why not?
Damage.
That seems fair.
D12s aren't used nearly as much.
No,
and so now
I do like me a battle axe for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, I mean, if you're going to keep it as a versatile weapon, you're going to two-hand it, you're going to do some extra damage, it's going to be amazing. You change the quantity of an item you're adding to the sheet in the equipment sidebar. Pitiful Dragon, can you increase the number of attunements allowed? Yeah, so let's go into add a modifier, and we're going to...
Really, you can, huh?
Let me find this. Set attunement slots.
Wow. I had no idea you could do this.
Well, artificers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we can so in the fixed value here, 10, why not? Let's have all the attunement slots. Oh, I'm sorry. D&D Beyond. I can only give you 6. My bad. So there we go. If I was to equip, let's
So to attune
this.
to that item, you would need to use all your attunement slots.
No, it should give you. So
oh, it should give you.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me go ahead and I don't want to do that. I'm going to go into equipment. We're going to add the fire battle axe. That's what it was.
That's why I figured it was between 1 and 6, but
fire battle axe of awesome. Let's add this. There's just so much going on in my character sheet.
There's a lot going on.
There we go. And now if I go into equipment.
Oh.
Voila. And
evil.
The fun thing about the Fire Battle Axe of Awesome is that it does not require attunement. So you equip it, and now you have other things that you can attune to. Yeah,
it's like a broken magic card.
I just know about the pretty art on magic cards. I don't know if I know enough about to pull a magic card. Like Black Lotus, is that a thing? That's a thing. There you go.
That is one of the most famous ones. Yes, that's probably one of the most accurate cards you could have used as an example for what you just did. That is hilarious to me in every way.
In fairness, any magic thing that you were going to ask me, my answer was probably going to be Black Lotus.
Black Lotus or Dark Ritual.
Yeah, or something. I was going to start pulling out things from Ravnica or Theros as a D&D person.
By cheating, yeah.
That's not cheating.
Cheating.
That's an official crossover.
Well, no wonder you only have 10 currency. You bought all these items. You've overspent.
But can you, what's more important, especially to Kaiser here, what's more important, to have a stash of money or to be able to equip and attune to everything and
dual wield too,
and dual wield some of the most ridiculous weapons on the planet. Eljeet has a question: do either of you have an all-time favorite homebrew item? Ooh, Todd, do you
I don't have one right now. I'm working on, because my main character has a coin, and I'm working on weaponizing it as a coin of returning that does like 1d8 points of damage. Because I think it would be charming to smite with it as a warlock.
Charming. I like the charming.
Charming
with it. Yeah.
Maybe horrifying. Like when I see it in my brain, it's almost like a bullet that leaves your hand. So I've certainly made that an attack before. I've messed around with it. And so I've homebrewed that. It also has a revolver, which was recently brought up. That he's never fired in 3 years. But
Chekhov's revolver? Does he literally have Chekhov's revolver?
That's why I should have called it.
Well, no, it's Avron's revolver. I just like the idea of like one day,
one day that thing will go off.
How many years do we have to wait? How many games do you have to play?
It's either going to do nothing or it's going to like blow a hole in the space-time continuum. Like it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
It's going to say bang or nothing.
And for me to answer that question, I don't have a specific one. I have my personal favorites, which are ones that I've created, but I feel like that's cheating. But if you do want to browse all of the wonderful homebrew that is on D&D Beyond, you can do exactly that. If you go to collections, homebrew, you can browse by any of the different categories that there's homebrew available for, and you can filter. So if you're looking specifically for a rod that's a +1 rod, if you're looking specifically for stuff by a specific author, if you want a specific weapon type, you can go searching for that and see, hey, did somebody already make this? Maybe it'll help you be inspired for your own homebrew, or maybe you heard about something and that someone published that you want to give a try to. So yeah, browse through this. As you can see, there's a lot out there. This is just magic items that users have created on our site and shared with the world for people to use. So go take a look.
A pocket Karen.
Listen.
Okay.
we'll look into some of that stuff later.
Okay. Yeah, we have a fantastic homebrew community, so there is a lot of inspiration to be had out there.
And we did have one last question that I did want to answer. Jabardo wanted to know, is there documentation available somewhere to look at all the available modifiers and such with a little more explanation to know what they all do? Not at the moment. However,
Good
I would
idea.
invite you to come to our forums or to the Discord. Come to the Homebrew and House Rules forums. Not only is there a lot of pinned information there to help you, there's just an entire community of people, all the people who are making this, several thousand pages worth of magic items, they're all here. They're all making stuff. They're all helping other people make stuff. If you have a question for how to do something, come to the forum and post about it and say, I'm trying to make this. I'm trying to alter this. I want this thing to do this thing on the character sheet. There are plenty of people who will come and help. We do try to keep some tutorials here and some walkthroughs, but not only is there a lot, but we're always doing updates. So come to the forums and ask, come to the Discord and ask, and someone can probably help you.
Our operators are standing by.
Our community people are standing by, and we'll do our best to make your homebrew dreams come true.
Lauren Urban, our community manager at D&D Beyond, thank you so much for introducing us again. Can we see that art of Luke McKay?
Yeah.
One more time.
Of course.
If you don't know, we have a lot of fantastic emotes on our Twitch channel. If you sub, many of those are actually designed by Luke McKay himself as well. So if you want butter, if you want a dragon that says hello, we've got a lot of really cool emotes that are hanging around in our Twitch channel. So I encourage you to subscribe and be able to share those around the D&D community. And Luke is just a fantastic artist. He is a joy. He is one of the best parts of my week, having a meeting with him and talking about the ridiculous comics that we are coming up with. So I think next Mondays will be a big one as well. So thank you, Lauren Urban, so much. I really appreciate being on the show and showing everyone how to make their own magical items.
And definitely, if you use this magic item, or if you just record yourself saying the ridiculous name of it, please let me know.
Have a great day, everyone.